So what's today's methodology, right? We had XP, Scrum, Agile, Lean. I call this my methodology wheel of fortune. But keep in mind, hot methodology fixes yesterday's hot methodology. And that methodology fixes the day before's hot methodology, which actually corrects the old thinking of yesteryear and so on, right? So we've all went through this a couple of times. Most methodologies are based off of manufacturing, which did we not establish at the beginning of this presentation that software is not like building a house, a bridge, or a car? The lean software development is a translation of the lean manufacturing approach and the lean IT principles and practices for the software development domain. It was adopted from the Toyota production system. A subculture is emerging in the Agile community. This was the lean approach was introduced back in 1952. Doesn't mean it's wrong, but we can't do any better than 1952 in the way we build something? Maybe not. Maybe it's perfect. But think about that for a second. So why did we ever do XP again? Because didn't XP spawn Scrum because there was limitations? And didn't Agile really kind of supplant Scrum or mix with Scrum? And didn't Lean kind of put more structure around Agile? So when you start thinking about it, this is how this all works together, right? I'm fixing my yesterday's methodology to fix today's methodology, or I'm adding some constraint, or I'm adding something extra. So always keep that in mind. And I always go back to, why did we do XP again when we were doing that? And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with any of these methodologies if they work for your organization or for your team. I'm just saying that they are not a silver bullet and not going to ensure that you're going to bring a project in on time and under budget. Let me point this out again. 7 pointers to solid design. And, I kind of love this one because this is actually taken from PC Techniques magazine a while ago. Oh, that's right, 1992 in October. So we've been trying to solve this problem of developing good software. And how do you build it? Well, here's a simple roadmap to help you on to begin your journey, right? And, the number one is have clear requirements. I love that one, yeah. So also with time comes maturity and realization. And there's a couple of quotes I always like to talk about. Life is hard, and you're in a losing battle. No one ever gets out of this alive, right? So that's something that's true. And another one is Tom DeMarco. You might know him from the writer of Controlling Software Projects, Management, Measurement, and Estimation from Prentice Hall back in 1982. And he had this really famous quote that if you can't control what you can't measure. Well, ironically, in 2009, he kind of revised that a little bit, and he said, why on earth are we doing so many projects that deliver such marginal value? And it's basically his thought process was because we're doing too much management and micromanagement to get anything done. Because we have to isolate every little feature functionality to such a degree that it has to be delivered that the amount of functionality or capability we're adding to the project plan is so minimal or so insignificant that it really doesn't make a difference to the program. And his point was there are a lot of other great products out there, a lot of great things that have been delivered without a methodology or structure. And if you think about it, Google Earth, Wikipedia, Linux, Hudson, all of them, and many, many more, by the way, all of them were delivered, and a lot of them did not have a methodology when they were first created or brought to market. They were just, brought to market because they were a tool that fixed a particular problem or solution. So winning, remember a couple of other quotes that I like to go with. Any problem can be solved with time and money, and I use that one all the time. If you want me to fix something, I can fix it, given enough time and money, right? That's just the way the world works. And projects can be either functional, delivered on time, or under budget. You can pick any two you like, but that's going to pick how the project's going to be delivered. And the reality is that's more real than most numbers that we see coming out of Agile or any other project development. Things we know that can help teams be successful, right? There are a couple of things that we have found over the years that do help, but do they fit into a particular methodology or approach? Maybe, maybe not. Small teams. I have found that using small teams usually decreases the communication process, and everybody can get on the same page and go towards a common goal. I found that to be very, very useful. Balanced teams, having a couple of rock stars on the team, having a couple of just regular programmers, and having some junior people on there, I find works very well. Lots of iterations. I think it's hugely important to show people what you're doing throughout the process. Locking yourself in a room and coming out 6 months later saying ta-da usually doesn't always hit the mark, and so I've found that doing a lot of iterations works a lot better for us. And also implementing a real change procedure. This one is the one that always kills us, and this goes back to the first of it. Each change must be accounted for. It either has to cost more money, it has to take time, or it has to change the functionality. The schedule needs to be pushed in or out. If I remove or if I change and remove something, well, that could bring the schedule in. If I add something, the schedule could be pushed out. But something has to move whenever there's a change. Money has to change, time has to change, and functionality has to change. And something that we don't do well is really communicating those things up, because again, sometimes management doesn't want to go to their managers or their bosses and say, hey, I know we said we'd be done by December 1st, but it's getting we're not going to be there. So they don't want to go do that conversation with their management, right? They don't want to say that they're running late, or the changes in perspective or the changes in business had cost them anything. They want to go back to their management and said, I told you it'd be done on December 1st, and darn it, here it is. So keep those things in mind, that having a real change procedure and letting all levels of management who are bought into the project understand that change procedure, and when something changes, alerting them to it, making them aware that, hey, something changed because it had to, because a requirement or a change needed to occur, and that's a real key function going forward. We don't use a lot of metrics, and we should. Metrics don't have to be used as a negative. Metrics can be used as a nice thing to fix your project if you're going wayward. One of my favorite metrics is cyclomatic complexity. If I notice my team has a lot of really complex methods and really getting deep, I will sometimes take a step back and say, guys, what are we trying to develop here? Where are we going with this? And that we can reset our course to make things easier to maintain and cleaner designs. Audits should be used on every single build, every single time. If you use spell check inside of your word processor, audits are the exact same thing. They basically catch us doing stupid stuff and say, hey, do you really want to do that stupid thing? Projects and product have to have a need. Management has to have the work to be done. If they don't have to have that work, there is a good chance that project will be killed in its lifetime. There has to be a need, and it has to be done. Okay? And there needs to be business buy-in, right? Which is different than management buy-in. I can convince my boss all day long that we need to do X, Y, Z. But if it doesn't make us more profitable, if it doesn't make our business run better, if it doesn't make our business better, then it doesn't matter how good this thing could be or how fun it could be to build, and I might have management buy-in, but if there's not a business need for it, that's another area for when business takes a step back and goes, do we need this? I'll give you an example of that. A lot of companies today in the mobile space are trying to figure out what mobile brings to the structure. And I always think of insurance companies when I think about this, because an insurance company has a mobile app that you can take pictures of your accidents, you can do your account management and all that kind of stuff on it. How many new customers have been brought in because there is a mobile application on Android or iPhone or whatever device you want to use for a particular device? How many customers have switched from one insurance company to another because this company has a mobile application? And didn't most of these large companies, these large insurance companies, didn't they spend buco dollars, huge amounts of dollars to build a web infrastructure to deliver sort of these same functionalities and features? And why wouldn't they just use that? Because most smart devices today, most mobile devices, have a web browser built into it. So why not use that infrastructure that's already been built, tested, and is in production today? Why build a mobile app? Will it bring in more customers? And so if there's not business buy-in, there's a lot of times, and a lot of companies are now pulling back a little bit, going, there's not a business need to have a mobile application. It doesn't help us get from point A to point B. Now, if there is a reason, then yeah, absolutely, let's invest in mobile development and let's deliver to our customers to give them better whatever. But a lot of times you pull back and you see that it's not really adding to the bottom line. And if it's not adding to the bottom line with a business need, then most likely it might not be needed in general. So finally, ask yourself the following question. If you have a dysfunctional team, or people, or person, in a more general sense, will the following solve the delivery problem midstream in a project, right? I'm going to add a bunch of new resources to help. That usually doesn't work very well. I'm going to change technology. We really need to do this, right? We're going to change from whatever to whatever. That hasn't always come out very well either. I'm going to adopt a new paradigm and change everything. Well, sometimes that doesn't work very well. And I'm going to add process, and we're going to really do it this time. Well, ironically, changing a process here and there can really help a project from time to time. If it's a wholesale process removal and replacement, that's where problems get in. If you shortcut something from A to B and C, and you remove B, which is a big bottleneck, and now you can go from A to C, and your project's going to run smoother, quicker, faster, then adding a process is going to help something. But if you say, you know what, we're no longer going to do A, B, or C, and what I'm going to do is introduce you to X, Y, and Z midstream, probably not going to help your project deliver better. Any and all of the above can help a good working team, right? And good group of people or good individuals who want to do a lot better. But if a team is dysfunctional, any of these are going to be a problem for you to get done. One of the biggest keys out there to project delivery is people. Nothing less, nothing more. Everything else in the world is gravy. I really want to thank you for your time. I hope you enjoyed this presentation. I think it is interesting about where we are today technology-wise. My name is Michael Roslog, and mroslog@gmail.com. If you have any feedback, please let me know. Again, these are my words, these are my thoughts, and if you don't agree, I'd love to hear it, and if you do agree, let me know, and we can carry on the conversation from there. I want to thank you for your time. I hope you have an awesome day. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.